Shaktipat Seer 2.
This is the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Is a popular text from Kashmir, from the Shiva tradition, and it emphasizes the monistic relationship between the self and the absolute truth, which is a completely valid perspective, and it's an important perception that we need to ground within our overall realization. And it is the cornerstone of realization. It constitutes realizing Brahman, realizing that the absolute is all in all, completely, and that includes you. So Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, Bhairava and Bhairavi, lovingly united in the same knowledge, left the undifferentiated state so that their dialogue may enlighten all beings. Bhairava is a wrathful form of Shiva. Bhairavi is a Shakti, is the energy of that. Bhairava Shakti, Bhairavi said, O God, who manifests this universe and makes light of this manifestation, you are none else than myself. I have received the teachings of the Trika, which is the quintessence of all the scriptures. However, I still have some doubts. O God, from the standpoint of absolute reality, what is the essential nature of Bhairava? Does it reside in the energy of the phenomenons? It says phenomes, or phonemas. I gotta assume that means does it reside in the energy of phenomenons. In the realization of Bhairava's essential nature, in a particular mantra, in the three Shaktis, in the presence of the mantra which lives in every word, in the power of the mantra present in each particle of the universe. Does it reside in the chakras? Is it the sound Ha, or is it only the Shakti? That which is composed, is it born out of both immanent and transcendent energy, or only out of immanent energy? If it were the product of transcendent energy only, then transcendence itself would have no object. Transcendence cannot be differentiated in sounds and particles, for it is undivided nature, and it cannot be expressed in the many. O Lord, may your grace do away with my doubts. Excellent your questions, O beloved, are the essence of the Tantras. I will reveal to you a secret teaching. All that is perceived as a composed form of the sphere of Bhairava must be considered as phantasmagoria, magical illusion, a ghost city hanging in the sky. Such a description only aims to drive those who fall prey to illusion and mundane activity towards contemplation. Such teachings are meant for those interested in rituals and external practices stuck in duality. From an absolute standpoint, Bhairava is not associated with letters, nor with phonemes, nor with the three Shaktis, nor with breaking through the chakras, nor with any other belief, and Shakti does not constitute his essence. These are mere appetizers meant to spur aspirants towards ethical behavior and spiritual practice so that they can realize someday the ultimate nature of Bhairava is not separate from their own self. Mystical ecstasy isn't subject to dualistic thought. It's completely free from any notion of location, space, or time. This truth can only be touched by experience. It can only be reached by those entirely free from duality and ego, and firmly, fully established in the consciousness of the self. This state of Bhairava is filled with the pure bliss of unity between Tantrika and the universe. Only this state is the Shakti. In the reality of one's own nature, thus realized, containing the entire universe, one reaches the highest sphere. Who then could be worshipped? Who then could be fulfilled by this worship? Only this condition recognized as supreme is the great goddess. Only this condition recognized as supreme is the great goddess. Since there is no difference between the Shakti and the one who embodies her, nor between subject and object, the Shakti is identical to the self. The energy of the flames is nothing but the fire. All distinction is but a prelude to the path of true knowledge. The one who reaches the Shakti grasps the non-distinction between Shiva and Shakti and enters the door of the divine. As space is recognized when illuminated by sun rays, so Shiva is recognized through the energy of Shakti, which is the essence of the self. O Supreme God, you who bear a trident and a garland of skulls, how to reach the absolute plenitude of that Shakti which transcends all notions, all descriptions, and abolishes time and space? How do we realize this non-separation from the universe? In what sense is it said that the Supreme Shakti is the secret door to the state of Bhairava? Can you answer in common language these absolute questions? The Supreme Shakti reveals herself when in-breath and out-breath are born and die at the two extreme points, top and bottom. Thus between two breaths experience infinite space. They're talking about the Kumbhaka Yoga, Kumbhaka Pranayama. If you go to my YouTube channel and you type in Bhuta Shuddhi Pranayama, Bhutashuddhi, Bhuta Shuddhi, DDHI, I think actually, you should see this type of pranayama where it says like here, thus between two breaths experience infinite space, between in-breath and out-breath, between stopping and going. When breath stands still at the two extreme points, inner heart and outer heart, two empty spaces will be revealed to you. Bhairava and Bhairavi. Between in-breath and out-breath, between stopping and going, when breath stands still at the two extreme points, inner heart and outer heart, two empty spaces will be revealed to you, Bhairava and Bhairavi. With a relaxed body when exhaling and inhaling, lose your mind and perceive your heart, the energy center where the absolute essence of Bhairava flows. When you have breathed in or out completely, when the breath movement stops on its own, in this universal lull, the thought of me disappears as the Shakti reveals herself. Consider the Shakti as bright, subtler and subtler light, carried upward through the lotus stem, from center to center, by the energy of the breath. When it subsides in the upper center, it is Bhairava's awakening. The heart opens, and from center to center, Kundalini rushes up like lightning. Then Bhairava's glory is manifested. Meditate on the 12 energy centers, the 12 related letters, and free yourself from materiality to reach the supreme subtlety of Shiva. Focus your attention between your eyebrows. Keep your mind free from any dualistic thought. Let your form be filled with breath essence up to the top of your head, and there soak in radiant spaciality. Imagine the 5 colored circles of a peacock feather to be your 5 senses disseminated in unlimited space and reside in the spatiality of your own heart. So when they talk about the heart there, they're talking about the true heart center, the Hridaya, the lotus of the heart, the 8-petaled lotus. Imagine the 5 colored circles of a peacock feather to be your 5 senses disseminated in unlimited space and reside in the spatiality of your own heart. the gold, the turquoise, the blue, the purple, gold, turquoise, blue, purple, pink. Envision that as your own senses diffuse throughout the universe. I've never heard anything that really touched upon that particular subject. Even in the West, in the alchemical tradition, this vision of neon lights that appears in the head when the Kundalini rises was called the peacock's feather. And here also they're saying, imagine a peacock's feather as your senses disseminated in unlimited space. And when you're meditating and you see this peacock feather light in your head, you can see a vision, as it were, of like the whole universe. It's like you can see everything at the same time, but it's not real clear. And when you look at it, it kind of takes a more concrete shape, and it's always like twisting and turning, and nothing's really sturdy. But the more that you focus on it, it becomes one set like scene. It's really strange. So here it says to imagine all of your senses disseminated in unlimited space in the form of these lights. And so that strikes me directly as being very impressive. I've never heard anything that touched on that particular phenomena so clearly. Void, wall, whatever the object of contemplation, it is the matrix of the spatiality of your own mind. Close your eyes, see the whole space as if it were absorbed in your own head. Direct your gaze inward, and there see the spatiality of your true nature. The inner channel is the goddess, like a lotus stem, red inside, blue outside. It runs across your body. Meditating on its inner vacuity, you will reach divine spatiality. Plug the 7 openings of your head with your fingers and merge into the bindu, the infinite space between your eyebrows. If you meditate in your heart, in the upper center, or between the eyes, the spark which will dissolve discursive thought will ignite, like when brushing eyelids with fingers. You will then melt into supreme consciousness. Enter the center of spontaneous sound, which resonates on its own, like the uninterrupted sound of a waterfall. Or, sticking your fingers in your ears, hear the sound of sounds and reach Brahman, the immensity. That's interesting. In the West, we have this thing where if you put your hand over your ears, or if you take like a seashell and put it over your ears, they say you can hear the ocean. And it says in the Nada Bindu Upanishad that the yogi should listen to the nad in the right ear. You should listen to the supreme sound of Brahman, the creative deity, in the right ear. And when you see pictures of the famous Tibetan yogi Milarepa, he's always going like this with his right ear, holding it like that, like he's listening to the nad. So he's saying here, stick your fingers in your ears and listen to the supreme nad. Hear the sound of sounds and reach Brahman, the immensity. Maybe something to do with sticking your fingers also, because there's streams of energy going out of your fingers which are related to the nadis. Nadi is the subtle energy channels, and nada is that sound, the supreme sound, which is vibrating through them in the form of the breath energy, according to the Vedanta. So that's interesting. Stick your fingers in your ear, hear the sound of sounds, and reach Brahman. These people up there in the Himalayas and stuff, it's like that place is blessed. Just like it's like a realm of gods, you know. It's like that planet it's like a different planet. It's like the whole field around the Himalayas is like a whole different like matrix. You know what I mean? Like these higher like potentials are being grounded almost to the earth in that place. It's just incredible to see how these kind of traditions can come from just to see these kind of traditions. And these people who created them, they're complete and utter masters of the human organism. They're completely masters of themselves and of identifying reality simply through their own senses. Enter the center of spontaneous sound, which resonates on its own like the uninterrupted sound of a waterfall, or sticking your fingers in your ear, hear the sound of sounds, and reach Brahman, the immensity. O Bhairavi, sing Om, the mantra of the love union of Shiva and Shakti, slowly and consciously. Enter the sound, and when it fades away, slip into the freedom of being. Focus on the emergence or the disappearance of a sound, then reach the ineffable plenitude of the void. That right there is enough for a whole branch of yoga, just that sentence. Because after the audible sound of a mantra is given, or after a kirtan is sung, you can feel, if you're very sensitive to it, you can feel the void, like he says here. You can feel this ineffable plenitude of the void as this sound is reverberating off of, I guess what it would be is these power points, these bindus of supreme, compacted, infinite power. Somehow these are acting like drums, and when the sound is done vibrating around it, it compacts into this bindu again in some strange way. This bindu is this void center. You can kind of feel like the resonance of the mantra after you say it affecting your body in a very subtle way, affecting your sense of consciousness, and you almost like feel as if there's another layer of the sound continuing into another dimension of space that you can't really see. Or maybe it's just that space is completely reverberating and completely interconnected, in the sense when you let out a mantra like that, it reverberates off of the whole cosmos and comes back. And the bindu itself, which is within you, is the whole cosmos, and it's like this like reverberation happening. By being totally present to song, to music, enter the spatiality. Enter spatiality with each sound which rises and dissolves into it. Enter spatiality with each sound which rises and dissolves into it. By being totally present to song, to music, enter spatiality with each sound which rises and dissolves into it. Visualize a letter. Let yourself be filled by its radiance. With open awareness, enter first the sonority of the letter, then a subtler and subtler sensation. When the letter dissolves into space, be free. It's interesting because if you go to YouTube, you can see there's some video of singers, like opera singers, who can, using a special plate, they can cause salt crystals to assume this different like geometric form on this plate just by their voice, just by going ah. You can see the salt crystal, and then they change their tone, oh, and then the salt crystal like changes this geometric shape. It forms like a perfect a perfect, like a snowflake looking thing, like a geometry with different sacred, like geometry patterns, almost looking things in it. Anyway, when you contemplate the luminous spatiality of your own body radiating in every direction, you free yourself from duality and you merge into space. If you contemplate simultaneously spatiality above and at the base, then bodiless energy will carry you beyond dualistic thought. Reside simultaneously in the spatiality at the base, in your heart, and above your head. That's really incredible stuff. Thus, in the absence of dualistic thought, divine consciousness blossoms. In one moment you perceive non-duality in one spot of your body. Penetrate this limitless space and reach the essence freed from duality. O gazelle-eyed one, let ether pervade your body, merge into the indescribable spatiality of your own mind. That is strange. I've never thought of that before. The indescribable spatiality of your mind. The space of your mind, mind space, is definitely not the same as physical space, right? I mean, you can't cut your mind with a sword. You can't see it with your naked eyes. It's not the same as physical space. It's diffused. It's indescribable, but it's definitely not like physical space. So that's really weird. Suppose your body to be pure radiant spatiality, contained by your skin and reach the limitless. Suppose your body to be pure radiant spatiality, contained by your skin and reach the limitless. O beauty, senses disseminated in your heart space, perceive the essence of the Shaktis as indescribably fine gold powder, which glitters in your heart and from there pours into space. Then you will know supreme bliss. When your body is pervaded with consciousness, your one-pointed mind dissolves into your heart, and you penetrate reality. Fix your mind in your heart when engaged in worldly activity, thus agitation will disappear, and in a few days the indescribable will happen. Focus on a fire fiery and fierier, which raises from your feet and burns you entirely. When there is nothing left but ashes scattered by the wind, know the tranquility of space which returns to space. See the entire world as a blazing inferno. Then when all has turned to ashes, enter bliss. If subtler and subtler tattvas are absorbed into their own origin, the Supreme Goddess will be revealed to you. Reach an intangible breath focused between your eyes. Then when the light appears, let the Shakti come down in your heart, and there in the radiant presence at the moment of sleep attain the mastery of dreams and know the mystery of death itself. Wow, that's so amazing. This is something which happened completely on its own. This is literally the goddess working through this tantra and through all of us. The first thing which I experienced was this kind of breathing in through the third eye, and then a light appears, and then you bring this energy, this Shakti, into your heart. It comes first from the third eye, and then down it went into the chest slowly. And there, in the radiant presence at the moment of sleep, attain the mastery of dreams and know the mystery of death itself. And also after that happened, my dreams started to become more conscious. Consider the universe to be dissolving in subtler and subtler forms until it merges into pure consciousness. If boundless in space, you meditate upon Shiva Tattva, which is the quintessence of the entire universe, you will know ultimate ecstasy. O great goddess, perceive the spatiality of the universe and become the jar which contains it. Like a bowl or a container, without seeing its sides on the matter or the matter which composes it, in little time become aware of space, abide in an infinitely spacious place devoid of trees, hills, and dwellings. Let your gaze dissolve in empty space until your mind relaxes. In the empty space which separates two instants of awareness, radiant spatiality is revealed. Just as you get the impulse to do something, stop. Then, being no more in the preceding impulse nor in the following one, realization blossoms intensely. Contemplate over the undivided forms of your own body and those of the entire universe as being of an identical nature. Thus will your omnipresent being in your own form rest in unity, and you will reach the very nature of consciousness. In any activity, concentrate on the gap between in-breath and out-breath, thus attain to bliss. Feel your substance, bone, flesh, and blood saturated with a cosmic essence and know supreme bliss. O gazelle-eyed beauty, consider the winds to be your own body of bliss. When you quiver, reach the luminous presence. When your senses shiver and your mind becomes still, enter the energy of breath, and when you feel pins and needles, know supreme joy. When you practice a sex ritual, let the thought reside in the quivering of your senses like the wind in the leaves, and reach the celestial bliss of ecstatic love. At the start of the union, be in the fire of the energy released by intimate sensual pleasure. Merge into the divine Shakti and keep burning in space, avoiding the ashes at the end. These delights are in truth those of the self. O Goddess, the sensual pleasure of the intimate bliss of union can be reproduced at any moment by the radiant presence of the mind, which remembers intensely this pleasure. When you meet again with a loved one, be in this bliss totally and penetrate the luminous space. At the time of euphoria and expansion caused by delicate foods and drinks, be total in this delight, and through it taste supreme bliss. Merge in the joy felt at the time of musical pleasure or pleasure from other senses. If you immerse in this joy, you reach the divine. Wherever you find satisfaction, the very essence of bliss will be revealed to you if you remain in this place without mental wavering. At the point of sleep, when sleep has not yet come and wakefulness vanishes, at this very point know the Supreme Goddess. In summer, when your gaze dissolves in endlessly clear sky, penetrate this light which is the essence of your own mind. You will enter the spatiality of your own mind, and at the moment when intuition frees itself through steadiness of gaze, love's uninterrupted sucking, violent feelings, agony, or death, comfortably seated, feet and hands unsupported, enter the space of ineffable fullness. In a comfortable position, hands open at shoulder level, an area of radiant spatiality gradually pervades the armpits, ravishes the heart, and brings about profound peace. Steadily gazing without blinking at a pebble, a piece of wood, or any other object, thought loses all props and rapidly attains to Shiva Shakti. Open your mouth, place your mind and your tongue at the center of the oral cavity, exhale with the sound Ha, and know a peaceful presence to the world. Ha. Place your mind and your tongue at the center of the oral cavity. Ha. Laying flat, see your body as supportless. Let your thought dissolve into space, and then the contents of the inner core consciousness will dissolve too, and you will experience pure presence, freed from dreams. O Goddess, enjoy the extremely slow movements of your body, of a mount of a vehicle with peace in mind. Sink into divine spirit. Gaze at the very clear sky without blinking. Tensions dissolve along with your gaze, and then reach the awesome steadiness of Bhairava. Enter the radiant spatiality of Bhairava scattered in your own head. Leave space and time. Be Bhairav. When you reach Bhairav by dissolving duality when awake, when you reach Bhairav by dissolving duality when awake, when this spatial presence continues into dream, and when you cross the night of deep sleep as the very form of Bhairava, know the infinite splendor of awake consciousness. During a dark and moonless night, eyes open in the dark, let your whole being melt into this obscurity and attain the form of Bhairava. Eyes closed, dissolve into darkness, then open your eyes and identify with the awesome form of Bhairav. When an obstacle gets in the way of the gratification through the senses, seize this instant of spatial emptiness, which is the very essence of meditation. With all your being, utter a word ending in Ah, and in the H, let yourself be swept away by a gushing flow of wisdom, such as Ja Rastafari. When you focus your structure-free mind on the final sound of a letter, immensity is revealed. Waking, sleeping, dreaming consciousness, free from any prop, know yourself as radiant spatial presence. Pierce a place on your body, and through this one spot attain to the radiant domain of Bhairav. When through contemplation, ego, active intellect, and mind are revealed as empty, any form becomes a limitless space, and the very root of duality dissolves. Illusion perturbs the five sheaths, obstruct vision. Separations imposed by dualistic thought are artificial. When you become aware of a desire, consider it the time of a snap of fingers, and then suddenly let it go. Then it returns to the space it just came out of. Before desiring, before knowing, who am I, where am I? Such is the true nature of I, such is the spatial depth of reality. When desire or knowledge have manifested, forget their object and focus your mind on the objectless desire or knowledge as being the self. Then you will reach the deep reality. Any particular knowledge is deceptive. When thirst for knowledge arises, immediately realize the spatiality of knowledge itself and be Shiva Shakti. Consciousness is everywhere. There is no differentiation. Realize this deeply and thus triumph over time. In a state of extreme desire, anger, greed, confusion, pride, or envy, enter your own heart and discover the underlying peace. If you perceive the entire universe as phantasmagoria, an ineffable joy will arise in you. O Bhairavi, do not reside in pleasure or pain. Instead, be constantly in the ineffable spatial reality which links them. When you realize that you are in everything, the attachment to body dissolves, joy and bliss arise. Desire exists in you as in anything. Realize that it also resides in objects, and that in all and all that the mind can grasp. Then, discovering the universality of desire, enter into its radiant space. Every living being perceives subject and object, but the Tantrika resides in their union. Feel the consciousness of each being as your own. Free the mind of all props and attain to non-duality. Then, gazelle-eyed one, limited self becomes absolute self. Shiva is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Since you have the attributes of Shiva, you are similar to him. Recognize the divine in yourself. Waves are born from the ocean and get lost in it. Flames arise and die. The sun shows up and then vanishes. So does everything find its source in spatiality and returns to it. Wander or dance to exhaustion in utter spontaneity, then suddenly drop to the ground and in this fall be total. Their absolute essence is revealed. Suppose you are gradually deprived of energy and knowledge. At the moment of this dissolution, your true being will be revealed. O Goddess, hear the ultimate mystical teaching. You need only to fix your gaze onto space without blinking to attain the spatiality of your own mind. Stop sound perception by plugging your ears. Contracting the anus, start resonating and touch that which is not subject to space and time. At the edge of a well, gaze motionless into its depths until wonder seizes you and you merge into space. At the edge of a well, gaze motionless into its depths until wonder seizes you and you merge into space. When your mind wanders externally or internally, it is then precisely that the Shaivist state manifests. Where could thought take refuge to not savor this state? Spirit is in you and all around you. When all is pure spatial consciousness, attain the state of the essence of plenitude. In stupor, anxiety, extreme feelings, at the edge of a precipice, running from the battlefield, in hunger or terror, even when you sneeze, the essence of the spatiality of your own mind can be seized. When the sight of a certain place brings back memories, let your mind relive those instants. Then when memories fade away, take one step further. Know omnipresence. Look at an object, then slowly withdraw your eyes. Then withdraw your thoughts and become the receptacle of ineffable plenitude. Look at an object, then slowly withdraw your eyes. Then withdraw your thoughts and become the receptacle of ineffable plenitude. The intuition which springs from the intensity of passion and devotion flows into space, frees you, and lets you attain the domain of Shiv Shakti. Attain focus on a single object, you penetrate any object. Relax then into the spatial plenitude of your own self. Purity, praised by ignorant religious people, seems impure to the Tantrika. Free yourself from dualistic thought and do not consider anything pure or impure. Understand that the spatial reality of Bhairava is present in everything and every being, and be this reality. Happiness resides in equality between extreme feelings. Reside in your own heart to attain plenitude. Free yourself from hatred as well as from attachment. Then, knowing neither aversion nor bond, slip into the divine inside of your own heart. Open and sweet-hearted one, meditate on what cannot be known, what cannot be grasped, all duality being out of reach. Where could consciousness settle to escape from ecstasy? Contemplate empty space attained to non-perception, non-distinction, the elusive, being beyond being and non-being. Reach non-space. When thought is drawn to an object, utilize this energy. Go beyond the object and there fix your thought on this empty and luminous space. Bhairav is one with your radiant consciousness. Singing the name of Bhairava, one becomes Shiva. When you state, I exist, I think this or that, such this thing belongs to me, touch that which is unfounded and beyond such statements. Know the limitless and find peace. Eternal, omnipotent, supportless, goddess of the whole manifested world, be that one and attain to Shiv Shakti. What you call universe is an illusion, a magical appearance. To be happy, consider it as such. Without dualistic thought, what could limit consciousness? In reality, bond and liberation exist only for those who are terrified by the world and ignore their fundamental nature. The universe is reflected in the mind like the sun on the waters. At that moment where your attention awakens through sensory organs, enter the Spaciality of your own heart. When knower and known are the same, the self shines brightly. O beloved, when mind, intellect, energy, and limited self vanishes, then appears the wonderful Bhairava. O goddess, I just taught you 112 Dharana. One who knows them escapes from dualistic thought and attains to perfect knowledge. One who realizes a single one of these Dharana becomes Bhairava himself. His words get enacted and he obtains the power to transmit Shakti at will. O goddess, the being who masters one single of these practices frees himself from old age and death. He acquires supernormal powers. All yoginis and yogins cherish him and he presides over their secret meetings. Liberated in the very middle of activity and reality, he is free. The goddess said, O Lord, let us follow this wonderful reality which is the nature of the Supreme Shakti. Who then is worshipped? Who is the worshipper? Who enters contemplation? Who is contemplated? Who gives the oblation? And who receives it? Whom gets sacrificed? And to whom? O gazelle-eyed one, all these practices are those of the external path. They fit gross aspirations. Only the contemplation of the highest reality is the practice of the Tantrika. What resonates spontaneously in oneself is the mystical formula. A stable and characterless mind is the true contemplation. Colorful visualizations of divinities are nothing but artifice. Worship does not consist in offerings, but in the realization that the heart is the supreme consciousness, free from dualistic thought. In perfect ardor, Shiv Shakti dissolve into the self. If one penetrates one single of the yogas described here, one will know a plenitude springing from day to day and reach the highest perfection. When one casts into the fire the supreme reality of the five elements, the senses and their object, the dualistic mind, and even vacuity, then there is the true offering to the gods. O Supreme Goddess, here the sacrifice is nothing else than spiritual satisfaction characterized by bliss. The real pilgrimage, O Parvati, is the absorption in the Shakti, which destroys all stains and protects all beings. How could there be another kind of worship, and who would be worshipped? The essence of the self is universal. It is autonomy, bliss, and consciousness. Absorption in this essence is the ritual bath. Offerings, devotee, supreme Shakti are but one. This is supreme devotion. Breath comes out, breath comes in, sinuous in itself. Perfectly tuned to breath, Kundalini, the great goddess, rises up. Transcendent and immanent, she is the highest place of pilgrimage. Thus deeply established in the rite of great bliss, fully present to the divine energy thanks to the goddess, the yogin will attain to supreme Bhairava. Air is exhaled with the sound Sha and inhaled with the sound Hum. Then reciting of the mantra Hum Sa is continuous. Breath is the mantra, repeated 21,000 times day and night. It is the mantra of the supreme goddess. O goddess, I just gave you the ultimate, unsurpassed mystical teachings. Let them only be taught to generous beings, to those who revere the master's lineage, to the intuitive minds freed from cognitive wavering and doubt, and to those who will practice them. For without practice, transmission gets diluted, and those who had the wonderful opportunity to receive these teachings return to suffering and illusion, even though they had held eternal treasure in their hands. O God, I have now grasped the heart of the teachings and the quintessence of Tantra. This life will have to be left behind, but why renounce the heart of the Shakti? As space is recognized when lit by sun rays, So is Shiva recognized through the energy of Shakti, which is the essence of the self. Then Shiva and Shakti, glowing in bliss, merged again in the undifferentiated.